Hi, welcome back to our podcast, Books Don't Review Themselves. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Kim.
And today we are reviewing The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I'm just going to read the synopsis. We took this from Amazon. Be careful who you let in. Soon after her 25th birthday, Libby Jones returns home from work to find the letter she's been waiting for her entire life. She rips it open with one driving thought: I am finally going to know who I am. She soon learns not only the identity of her birth parents, but also that she is the sole inheritor of their abandoned mansion on the banks of the Thames in London fashionable Chelsea neighborhood worth millions. Everything in Libby's life is about to change, but what she can't possibly know is that others have been waiting for this day as well, and she is on a collision course to meet them. 25 years ago, police were called to 16 Shine Walk with reports of a baby crying. When they arrived, they found a healthy 10-month-old happily cooing in her crib in the bedroom. Downstairs in the kitchen lay 3 dead bodies, all dressed in black, next to a hastily scrawled note. And the 4 other children reported to live at Shane Walk were gone.
Ooh. So how many stars?
I would give it probably between 3 to 4.
Okay.
I liked it. I wouldn't consider it thrilling. It was more suspenseful.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I don't know. Like, I enjoyed the story, but it didn't...
You didn't have palpitations?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were a couple parts where I was, like, not necessarily expecting or wasn't totally sure where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But when it went there, I wasn't like, oh, my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just...
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I give it a solid 3. For me, it wasn't thrilling.
Yeah, I don't know if it is categorized as thriller, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it was...
And like I had said in my written review, it was a happy thriller to me on top of it, because like everyone has a happy ending, family, it's almost.
Yeah.
Because I mean, family comes together, she gets a lot of money, a woman gets out of a bad relationship, and it was all good stuff that came about, which I'm not saying a thriller can't have good stuff, but I don't know. When I read thrillers, I want some, bad stuff, and I don't want lots of happy endings.
Right, which is kind of just why I don't necessarily feel that this is categorized as a thriller. Maybe more of a suspense, and even then I would say it's a
Very light suspense.
But again, we also read darker things.
Mm-hmm.
So the story itself was good. I didn't have a problem with that.
And I think for me, I would have gave it more stars if it would have ratcheted up the tension a little bbit. Because even later on, when her sister finds herself in a bad position, like, I wasn't like, oh God, what's going to happen? It just was there. Just there. I don't know. And I felt bad because, I mean, the premise I thought was excellent.
Right. And what's weird is I read her book, Then She Was Gone. Okay. And I read that maybe last year or 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I would have to... And I don't remember everything in that book, but I remember that book leaving me like...
Oh, darn.
Yeah, which made me really excited for this book, because I'm like, oh, Lisa Jewell, I'm so excited. I didn't realize she's written several other books.
Okay.
But yeah, that left me super like, oh my God. I remember like finishing it on my couch and like, oh my God. And my husband's like, what? And I like kind of told him, and I don't remember what the oh my God was, but so that left me with like a really good taste in my mouth.
Yeah, high expectations.
One, like I said, it didn't necessarily...
It was fine.
It didn't necessarily let me down. I didn't have that eagerness as I was reading it.
And it was a fast read for me, though. I mean, I finished it in a day or two, or maybe even a day, I don't remember. And it's 349 pages, so I mean, it's not a short book. Yeah, I don't know. I would still read other stuff by her. I would try other books. Because I think, like I said, the storyline was good, and the whole cult thing, coming in, and it just...
The cult thing, to me...
didn't feel like it needed to be in there.
Not that it didn't need to be in there. It just didn't feel super culty.
Culty enough.
Like, when I heard that it had a cult in there, like, I didn't feel like these people were... I didn't feel like it was a cult. I just felt like they were kind of almost like squatters, and that the owners of the home, the mom and dad, were just super
naive and just went along.
Yeah. And I think for the mom, it was just super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff they threw in there to make it culty still didn't feel culty. I don't know. Because it didn't feel like that was the intention.
It was just an egotistical, dominating male that wanted to dominate the household and then take over the household and keep it for himself.
Right. And because the end result was him wanting the money and the house and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily
cult.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a cult. So I felt like, maybe the author had in mind, like, this is the type of guy he's going to be, but how do I get him from A to B?
Yeah.
And I feel like the cult stuff was kind of thrown in there.
And as far as the cult goes too, I felt...
And it's very small.
It was a small cult, but it was like after what happened with the adults, then the kids are like, let's make it look more occulty, so they think, but...
And they didn't seem to touch on the book very much about it being a cult. Like, I only remember, like, a handful of times where, like, it was referenced as a cult.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel bad.
I do, too, because I was, like, really, really expecting to, like, really like this.
Mm-hmm. And I think when, like, the 3 stars, for me, like, the book is fine. And I feel like that's why I can't say a lot about it, because it was fine.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything to go, whoa, or anything to be like,
Yeah. Like, it's a good story, and I think if you're someone that is not into super, like, twisted thrillers, or you don't read very heavy thrillers, this would be a really good book.
Mm-hmm.
And that you would probably find it, like, super thrilling and whatnot. But if you're someone who's an avid thriller reader, you'll enjoy the story, but you just won't. You won't get that, like, excitement or, like, like you said, like, the heart palpitations or...
Yeah. And in my written review, too, at the end, I put, put on your to-be-read list, but maybe read some other stuff first and come to it, if you got nothing better to do that Saturday. I don't know. I will say, I don't want to spoil anything since there's not, like, that many wow moments in the book. And the end, where there was a little bit of a wow moment, that was like, okay, that's interesting. But it wasn't enough to jack it up any stars. And the way that it ended, like, if they write another book about it, perhaps that one could be more thrilling. But
perhaps, and I feel like if there was another book written about it, the only reason it would be thrilling would be because of the
person.
So
if she delves deeper into him.
Yeah. And so I guess that's the other thing too, is it felt kind of towards the end rushed.
I think sometimes thrillers though can, and suspense.
But it wasn't
it wasn't like action packed rushed. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next?
It was rushed, like kind of closing.
Mm-hmm. Like, we gotta end it this way and this way and this way, and there you go.
Yeah, because I was left with a couple questions with, like, whatever happened to her phone? Is it still, hacked and
stuff like Yeah. Okay. Do we want to get a little spoiler-y with some questions that you have then?
We could get a little spoilery. It's a little, but I feel like a lot of the stuff that would be spoilery is pretty predictable. If you don't want to see the spoilers, then probably just end here. Mm-hmm. I would say probably about a 3 to 4 star. Because it is a good book. It's just not, I wouldn't categorize it, in my opinion, as super thrilling or super suspenseful. It's just kind of a good read. Mm-hmm. Like Kim said, put it on your to-be-read list, but, don't
rush.
Yeah, necessarily make it a priority.
So if you're stopping here, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, come back another time. Tell your friends. Yay. All right, so spoilers.
And if you're here for the spoilers.
So, I mean, if we start talking, it's going to give the end away, which to me was the most exciting part of the book.
Yeah, to an extent.
So if you are thinking of reading it, maybe don't, because if this is the only exciting part of the book, I'll say before we get into the major spoiler at the end, there was deaths in the book, but none of them were like brutal or like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. The only one that I did think that about was the sister and her baby daddy. But even then, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. I was like, it's good. I'm glad you did it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that wasn't even that thrilling either. You know what I mean?
No, and I feel like sometimes when someone's sitting down to write a thrilling book, I feel like a couple things go through their head. A, how are they going to make it thrilling? You know, like, are they going to add death? And, you know, what are they going to add to it? How far are they going to go? Because I also feel like, and this is a new book, the other issue is I think some people today are concerned with, like, being politically correct and, like, how far they want to take it because of the fact that, you know,
domestic abuse or...
Right.
Yeah.
Like, sensitive topics like that. And so I feel like almost nowadays...
stuff gets watered down.
And then they think, oh, I added a death, you know, or I added a homicide, or... And it's like, it's not always a homicide that's super thrilling. It's kind of like, what led up to that? How did they die? Not just that, oh, there's, you know... I mean, if you think about it, cozy mysteries, almost someone dies every cozy mystery, but it's still considered a cozy mystery for a reason.
Yeah, there's still a death in it, but it's not shocking.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a big difference between a death in a cozy mystery and a death in a Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, there is.
So, and then what's kind of funny is last night, this is a little off topic. I watched, if you guys don't know where we live in Wisconsin. And there, when was it? 2015 maybe, where there was the stabbing in Waukesha.
I don't recall that.
The Slender Man.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yes.
That was horrible.
Yes. So basically, two friends stabbed their third friend 19 times.
Yeah, and they were young girls. Were they like 14 or something?
They were 12.
12. Oh my God.
They were 12.
Oh my God.
And they did it in a park and basically said they were going to get her help and left her for dead. And she did not die. And both were sentenced to a mental hospital, so Winnebago. And one of them seemed to be more of a perpetrator in it. And I believe she was sentenced to like 40 some years. And I think the other one was sentenced to like 20 some years.
That's still nice.
Now, they did that because of some sort of Wikipasta website or something, and there was a story about Slender Man, and they said that Slender Man made them do it, and this and that. So there was a 2020 about it.
Did they interview the girls?
They didn't interview the girls. They interviewed the girl that got stabbed, and then her parents, and then the parents of the two stabbers. I was like, and the thing is the one girl, her father has schizophrenia. But 12 is very early onset for schizophrenia if she has it yet. Yeah. But that's the only thing that they could really say is that.
And with hormones, I'm sure that affects, and stress and stuff.
Right.
If she has it. Right.
And I think they diagnosed her with early onset schizophrenia, but most of the time it does not show until you're in your 20s. Is when you start showing signs of it. And then the other girl had something where it was almost like, I don't remember the term, but it was almost like situational, where because she was like influenced. There was some sort of diagnosis.
So she would follow her friend off the cliff, is what you're saying.
Kind of. That's what it sounded like. The thing is the one mom, I can't remember if she was the mom of the one who got the 45. I think she was, because she was married to this, because she's the one who mentioned that the dad had schizophrenia. So,
is the dad still in the picture? Is he still alive?
I don't know. He's still alive. I don't know how in the picture he was. He was only interviewed for a very short time. And the one thing he said is, like, with schizophrenia, he's like, I know the devil's not in the back seat, but yet the devil's in the back seat, you know?
Yeah.
And so the mom was talking about, because one of the questions the interviewer asked was like, you know, weren't you concerned with her reading this kind of content? And she said, you know, I remember being that age and riding my bike with It. Like having Stephen King's It. And she's like, I was reading Stephen King novels. You know, and to see the contrast of, like, I mean, her mom was probably in her 40s.
Okay.
To that time frame of reading like It and Stephen King's novels, which are probably pretty even dark nowadays, to like some of the like this being considered like thrilling. There's a very big contrast, and like again, you know, that was an unfortunate situation, but people were like, oh well, could it be what she was reading or what, you know? So that kind of got me thinking, where does that influence what people write and how they write it?
I can see that.
You know?
Yeah, the times dictate what people write or don't write. You know, having to dumb it down or not. So in essence, are you saying that we're all becoming too soft?
Well, a little bit. Because it's a different world nowadays. And I know I say that like I'm super old and I'm not.
You're so ancient.
But I think some people are naive to what's going on. And they think by sheltering or
not talking about
things that it's gonna somehow make things better. And it's like, it's not. It's a story. It's a book. It's, you know, that's what it is. And the fact that something that was a story was turned into something more is not that author's fault. Yeah. You know? And so lately with some of the thrillers that we've been reading, where it's like, you know, we've had a couple good ones mixed in. And even so, like when I think about like Riley Sager's book or Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, they were very good books, but were they super
scary,
twisted, or you know, like I would say Riley Sager's was a little twisted, you know, thinking
the end part,
right?
Yeah, but also with his, it's not like it hasn't been done before. I mean, everything's been done though, you know, if you look at it that way, right? I just feel like some of the thrillers now are not as thrilling, and I'm wondering if that's because of the times, yeah, and the author holding back. Because I mean, you write what you want to write, but yet at the same time, you have to think about your audience, and you don't want to, you know, make your audience mad, right? Yeah,
and I mean, the same goes for like, I remember when Harry Potter came out, and I remember a bunch of like Christian mothers, burning demons. It, and it was all over the news and stuff, and it's like, look where it is now. Again, different times, but even then, it's like back then it's not dark, like it's not overly.
And I mean, now you have like Sabrina, you know, the teenage witch, you know, Satan. I just watched. What did I watch? Oh God, I don't remember, but it was totally like satanic and everything, and I'm just like, I mean, it comes and goes, you know, because. What was it, the 80s, early 90s, you know, satanic panic, and now Satan's people's best friend, so. Yeah.
So, I don't know, that just kind of got me thinking about it when I was watching this, because I'm like, essentially, they're saying that this all stemmed because of a fictional character. Story. Yeah.
Which, going back to Stephen King, it makes me laugh that you brought him up being so dark and scary and stuff, and his books, you know, a lot of them are. But I just finished The Institute.
I just finished that today, too.
The thing that got me, and I don't know, I read The Outsider when it came out, so that was like maybe a year ago.
I did.
And
that one, too.
I enjoyed that one. So it's not like I haven't, you know, it's not like it's been years since I've read a Stephen King book. But with The Institute, the thing that it just kept like standing out to me when I was reading it was Stephen King's. The words he would use were so old-fashioned to, like, describe things. And then, like, the kids had, like, nicknames for everything. And, I mean, I know kids do that. But this book, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed The Institute. And I would say read it. But it, like I said, it just felt old-fashioned to me. And I'm like, I've been reading his stuff since I was a kid. So I, like, grew up with him. So it's like, why at this point am I suddenly feeling like this is old-fashioned? Like, I feel like if a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old, I mean, you're not that much older. There's times, I mean, I guess since you just finished it, did words, like, stick out to you? Or was it just...
See, and I know you had mentioned that to me, and, like, I listened to it, and nothing really stuck out to me, but I'm wondering if it might have
when you're reading it?
Yeah, because I listened to it. There were some parts that were definitely more old school.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was the intention
Yeah.
of, like, the Institute. And I think that was the intention of kind of making the setting.
I think that's, like, so many of his books, though. They just have, like, the nostalgia thing with it.
Yes.
Which is fine. I mean, that's how he writes. And obviously millions and millions of people love him. And I'm not saying I don't love him. But it made me... It didn't endear me to him.
Right.
More. You know what I mean?
Like if... Had the writing been a little more progressive, because the whole Institute kind of reminded me of what I pictured was like a dilapidated old, like, school building, you know. The way they made, like, computers sound really old and not working. They made the town seem
old,
very old school. So, like, in a sense, yes, but I think that's just kind of his writing, because I did listen to The Outsider, and I think it kind of had that similar tone. I don't remember because it was a while ago. Granted, the other book, the one about JFK.
Oh, the number one, the 922, whatever.
Yeah. That one I really, really liked, and I listened to that one. I've had a couple people try to read it and say they couldn't get into it, but listening to it, definitely... I was able to get into it, but that, again, was going back and forth between present day, and even present day was still...
not today.
Right.
Yeah.
It was somewhat, but maybe, like, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And...
I mean...
where he really thrived in that book...
was the history part.
Right. Most of it was spent in the history.
Yeah.
So...
I guess when I read another, his next new one, I guess I'll just have to see, again. And I mean... That is just the way he writes. There's a big difference
between, like, the Institute and, like, Turn of the Key.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
You know? And I think that's just maybe his writing style.
And I'll have to see if I still enjoy that, I guess, with the next book. Because, I mean, it really stood out to me. And, like, there was times where, like, I would stop reading when I was reading because I'd be like, what century is this supposed to be taking place in? And it felt off. I don't know, maybe at 43 I don't want to be nostalgic yet. Maybe when I'm 60 I'll be like, best books ever. But now...
I don't even necessarily feel like it was nostalgic.
It's just old. It felt old.
Yeah. Like,
and not
having a 99 Gateway computer is not really nostalgic.
No, it's just old.
It's just old.
It's time to recycle and...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Stephen King. You're awesome, but... Nah. Maybe I'm outgrowing him.
Well, and I haven't read really any of his earlier works, so I don't really have it to compare to.
Even his older works, I mean, Stand By Me, it has a total nostalgia factor to it, and Carrie is just messed up. But, yeah, I mean, I think
that's
just his stuff.
But maybe it's sticking out more as you're reading other
stuff that
more
isn't
progressive.
So old. Yeah.
I mean, when you think of Turn of the Key... the Smart House and like it is totally opposite.
Yeah.
So
totally today and that. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll read another one by him, his next new one, and see. This is still, what the hell? But, I mean, obviously, people love him, and he's doing something right, so.
And we never really did get into spoilers.
No. So, yeah, I guess, whatever. I mean, I don't feel like we need to. No. Did you want to talk about the phone and all? Or?
No, I mean, it's not. I can't really talk about it without, getting, so it's not.
I will say, once, like, the phone happens and someone doing one thing and then saying something else to the person that they didn't do it, that's when you're like, oh, that's a little creepy and off. But I mean, really, that was the only.
Yeah, there were a lot of parts that it was like, all right, you're creepy, or like you're a little weird.
I thought like autism. I thought it, like on the spectrum. At first, that's what I kept thinking.
I didn't really think autism, but I thought like just
off,
like something was.
Weird. Like, they couldn't, like, work well with people, That's why, like, I was thinking kind of autism, because, that can be a thing. But then at the end, when you find out the other stuff, then you're like, oh, no, that person was just a psycho. So,
yeah,
that's great. Yeah, that's all I got.
Me too.
Yeah. Sorry, Lisa. We'll try your next book.
Yeah. And it's not like we hated it, Lisa.
No.
We just wanted a little more thrill.
Yes.
And... if you have an hour of your time, watch the 2020 special because it was really good and also really fucking
Disturbing.
creepy. Yeah, because I mean, in Wisconsin, they can interview a child as long as it's audio and video recorded without the parents.
Oh, really?
And quite frankly, if you're in there for first degree fucking murder, you should be allowed to. Like, I know people are skeptical about that and was like, oh, well, you know, they're only 12. It's like they still knew that they were attempting to murder someone.
Yeah.
And the one that got the 40 some years, she said, like, the investigator was like, do you have any remorse? And she's like, I thought about it, but what good is having remorse going to do me?
Oh,
you
dear
know,
God.
you only live once and you don't want to have any regrets.
YOLO! Let's go murder some people!
So, like, that kind of stuff.
Oh
And
my
then she's
God.
dancing in the interview when they're not there, and she's singing, and she's like, how's Bella? And they're like, oh, she's in the hospital. Oh, are you going to, like, take me to prison and, like, would she say something like, lock me up and throw away the key and I'll stay there till I rot and die?
Okay.
Like, just stuff like that. I'm like, holy shit. And then to be like, well, she, you know, there's a difference between knowing from right and wrong, and she's 12. It's like, at the end of the day, you know, stabbing someone is wrong.
Yeah.
It's not stealing something. It's, you know, it's a very adult crime.
Yeah.
The other one seemed more like very much following and very remorseful, and like that she didn't really think that it was actually going to happen, but then, you know, and then like the girls, her code was, okay, go ballistic, and that's when they were supposed to start stabbing. Yeah. So on a side note, if you have an hour, you can YouTube it. It's like, what is it called? Wicked, I think. Wicked something 2020, and it's all on YouTube. Watch it because it's super
link it down
creepy.
below. Yeah.
Super creepy.
Great. We have a lot of psychos in Wisconsin. Cool. Anything else?
Nope.
All right.
That's just my 2 cents. So, like, subscribe, come back for more. If you have any suggestions, go ahead. Otherwise, comment down below. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye. Bye.